The story begins with a man named Tao who came hunting with his people. After some investigation, he ordered his friends to be ready for the hunt. And this time his prey was a group of wild buffaloes, which was just a little away from them. After this, Tao and his friends started to move towards them slowly. And on one order of Tao, all the people attacked the wild buffaloes together. But those wild buffaloes were not going to lose so easily. And they started to move towards the men to save themselves. But then all the men threw their spears towards them, fearing that the wild buffaloes would start running in the opposite direction, where a very deep pit was present. And as soon as they saw it, all the wild buffaloes started jumping into it. Everything was going according to the plan of the Tao. But then a wild buffalo started running towards a boy named Keda instead of jumping into the pit. Actually, this was Keda's first prey, and because of lack of experience, he started running away from the buffalo, but the buffalo came from behind and hit him, after which he fell on the ground. But the buffalo didn't stop. He started running again towards the worm, and this time he picked him up and ran towards the pond. Tao attacked the wild buffalo from behind, but despite getting a bullet in his stomach, the wild buffalo jumped into the pond. Tao and his friends immediately ran towards the well to save Keda, but they went there and saw that Keda was hanging on a stone. But he couldn't hold the stone for long and fell down because his hand was about to fall off. But fortunately, Keda did not fall straight into the well, but he fainted on a big rock. In fact, Keda was Tao's son, and that's why Tao wanted to go down and save Keda. But his friends stopped him from doing so. After a while, it was night time. But Tao still believed that his son could survive. That's why he was still sitting there and calling Keda. But because he was the head of the village, he couldn't stay there for long. Because before the snow falls, he has to get food and reach the village. That's why the next morning, Tao decided to leave from there with a heavy heart and perform the last prayer for Keda. And Keda, lying there, was still unconscious. But after a while, a peel of his eye was seen on him, and when she saw such a good food in front of her, she immediately went to Keda. But as soon as she moved forward to eat Keda, she immediately regained consciousness, and she at once grabbed the shell and took it away from herself. Seeing herself on the rock, Keda was very scared, and she started screaming the name of Tao loudly to help. But soon he realized that there was no one there to help him. But Keda also thought that he would not die so easily. That's why he decided to hang and get down. In this attempt, his leg slipped, but at the right time he caught the rock again. But now he had no support from below, and he couldn't hang on his hands for too long. That's why he risked his life to hold the rock. After a while, it started to rain heavily there, and as soon as he saw it, the water that was collected below took the form of a river. Keda believed that this was his last chance to save his life. And that's why he jumped into the river without thinking, and when he woke up the next morning, he was in a deserted place. But then he noticed something on his feet that he couldn't even move when he took off his shoes. He noticed that his feet were very swollen because of the shaking of his feet. He immediately supported his feet with the help of 2 stones. After which he first brought his shaking bone back to his place, and then he put a stick on his shoes and supported his feet to walk. Keda wanted to go to his friends, so he decided to go to the top of the mountain. When he reached there, he saw the stones that Tao had used for his worship. Seeing them, Keda broke inside. But then he heard some voice, and when he looked closely, he saw a group of wolves. As soon as he saw them, Keda started running at full speed. But he couldn't run faster than the wolves. The wolves quickly got very close to him. So to escape from them, he decided to climb a dry tree. And in the meantime, a wolf caught his leg, but the worm immediately took out his knife and killed the wolf. After which the wolf fell to the ground, but his companions were still standing under the tree. So the worm decided to stay on the same tree until he died. After which, he had to spend the whole night on the same tree. And the next morning when he opened his eyes, he saw that the wolf had left his wounded companion there. Keda first tied her knife to a wooden stick and made a weapon for herself. After that, she went to the wounded wolf to kill him. But seeing her wounded, Keda's heart melted. and she made the wolf's life to be spared. After that, for her safety, she tied the wolf's mouth with a rope. And then she carried her on her shoulder and walked towards the cave, where she spent the night. The next morning, Keda was breaking some herbs and was hurting himself. Then the wolf opened the bandage on his mouth. Despite seeing this, Keda sat quietly, and after a while, he tried to give water to the wolf. But the wolf was showing his teeth and scaring Keda. But Keda still tried to give him water, keeping himself calm. And seeing this behavior of Keda, the wolf also calmed down, after which he drank the water given by Keda. After seeing this, Keda was very happy, and after a while he removed the insect stuck on the wound of the wolf and gave it to the wolf to eat. But he knew that it was necessary to hunt to stay alive, and to fulfill this need, he hunted the rabbit the next day. And when he was trying to burn it to cook it, the wolf moved ahead and tried to snatch the rabbit from it. But Keda knew that to keep the wolf under control, he would have to show himself more powerful. That's why he immediately scared the wolf and put it behind him. And to show his power, he started chewing the rabbit on the ground with his teeth. Seeing this, the wolf quietly sat in his place. That night, the wolf ate after a few days, and on the other side, the wolf was quietly watching the wolf. After a while, the wolf gave him food too, but he then clearly told the wolf that he needs the wolf's permission to eat the food. After resting for a few days, Keda decided to go back to his house before snowfall, but he couldn't take the wolf with him. So he asked the wolf to find his family. But the wolf was not ready to move from there. So Keda decided to leave him there and go home alone. But as soon as he left, the wolf started following him. After walking for a while, Keda got worried and threw a stick at him to chase the wolf away. But instead of running away, the wolf started running in front of the worm. Before the worm could understand anything, its eyes were on some wild boars standing nearby. As soon as the boars saw them, the wolf ran towards them. And on the other side, the boar was standing with its spear in fear. And as soon as the wild boar ran towards the worm to escape the wolf, the boar kept watching quietly instead of killing it, because of which the boar succeeded in running away. Seeing this, the wolves were very disappointed because Keda's mistake will not get them food. But after a while, they both got along, and Keda named that wolf Alpha. In the next few days, with the help of Alpha, Keda learned to hunt very well. And now they were slowly beginning to understand each other very well. Even at night, Alpha would sleep with Keda to keep Keda warm. Keda was also enjoying this. But after a few days, the whole area was covered with snow. But Keda and Alpha were slowly moving forward, hunting for themselves. But one day, Keda fell into the water because of the snow falling under his feet. And now he was not getting a way to get up. Alpha was also trying to break the snow with his weight, but his weight was not enough to break the snow. After trying for a while, finally Keda made a way for himself with the help of his knife. After which, he came up with the help of Alpha. The next day, Keda's eyes fell on a man sitting outside the tent. As soon as he saw him, he was happy. But as soon as he reached that man, he saw that the man had already frozen to death. After this, he tried to find food inside the tent, but there was no use. Keda was very disappointed to see this, but he wanted to meet his family in any condition. So they both went on their journey again. After a while, he saw a snowy storm coming from the front, and to make things more difficult, he saw that some hunting dogs were also following him. Keda used his brain and started running towards the cave with Alpha. Despite the storm coming from the front and the dogs coming from behind, they reached the cave at the right time. As soon as they reached, Keda and Alpha were ready to welcome the dogs. After waiting for a while, they realized that the dogs must have been trapped in the storm. Keda thought that the danger had been overcome, but Alpha was still ready to move towards the wall and attack. And after a few seconds, a black Keda was very scared at first, but he knew that if he didn't kill the Tendu, it was impossible for Alpha to survive. So he gathered all his strength and left an arrow towards the Tendu. As soon as it hit, the Tendu fell to the ground. As soon as it fell to the ground, Keda called out to Alpha, who was lying next to the Tendu. After Keda kept calling out, Alpha freed himself from the Tendu. He ran towards Keda, but fell down again due to his injuries. Keda knew that Alpha had saved his life many times, so he wanted to take Alpha home with him at any cost. The next morning, they both started walking back to their destination, and a few hours later, they found a stone that had a mark of Keda's settlement on it, which meant that now those people were a little away from home. Now, slowly, because of their wounds, Alpha's feet were getting weaker, and after a while the poor thing fell down. Keda wanted Alpha to somehow get home with him, but seeing Alpha's face, he understood that Alpha can't walk on his feet anymore. But he was not going to give up so soon, so he decided to take Alpha on his hands and move forward. After which he walked all night like this, and the next day he crossed many mountains with the confidence of his courage. And finally he reached a place and showed Keda his settlement. He took Alpha in his hands and went straight to the settlement where he fell down as soon as he reached. He was shocked to see Tau Keda alive, and he immediately caught his son. Keda's mother also reached there, who had given up hope of seeing her son again. Keda was also very happy to see her parents, but then he told his father to save Alpha in any condition, after which he fainted. When he opened his eyes, he found out that Alpha had given birth to many children, which means that Alpha was actually a mother's wolf, which was full of hunger in her entire journey. But despite this, she supported Keda completely. After knowing this, Keda's love for Alpha increased even more. If you liked the video, then like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Next.